Hello everyone, thanks for stopping by. In this video, I'm going to share with you a little encouragement about not being afraid to look foolish for your passions and your dreams. And I'm going to share with you a really neat story about Gideon from the book of Judges. You know, guys, we live in a really discouraging world, and we're locked in this flesh that has all sorts of madness rolling in it. We have enthusiastic and positive, encouraging voices that comes from the Holy Spirit that encourages us and tells us things like, you can do it, go and do it. And then we have voices that are not exactly encouraging, that you can figure out where they come from. And I believe those voices have no interest in protecting us or encouraging us in any way at all. So when you're ready to go out there and do something great, chances are pretty good there are voices battling within your mind for pretty much your actions. I was so excited to share with you a story that totally demonstrates that God is the ultimate motivational speaker and life coach. He's always out there looking to encourage people and to find the smallest of people to make them grand, to use them as an example of greatness. So guys, I was inspired to put this video together for you this morning after reading a few passages from the book of Judges. And for those of you who are familiar, Judges covers approximately about a 380 to 400 year span of the children of Israel going in and out of favor with God. So many of us know about the 10 Commandments. Commandment number 1 is to have no other God other than our Most High God. And commandment number 2 is not to erect and worship idols. So the book of Judges covers about approximately a 400-year span of the children of Israel following God in his ways and keeping his commandments and finding favor and blessings in him. And you know, as soon as a judge would pass away, then the children of Israel would find themselves following along with the people around them, the neighboring communities around them, in worshiping other gods, giving sacrifices onto other gods, and worshiping idols. And of course, that angered the Lord. And of course, naturally, the blessings went away as well. I really enjoyed the book of Judges because as you read, every time the children of Israel followed God, he blessed them. And every time they turned away from his words and his teachings and his guidelines, he no longer blessed them, and he let the world do with them as it would. And every time the children felt sorry for what they were doing and they were willing to change their ways, every time God showed up. And I find that to be very true of us today. You know, when we're good, we get our blessings. When we're good and we follow our conscience, which is the Holy Spirit within us, we receive blessings. And when we choose not to listen to that quiet voice of our conscience that leads us really in wonderful ways of protection, so God decides to choose the leader for the Israelites. So we continue in Judges chapter 6. Gideon called. And an angel of the Lord came and sat under an oak which was in Aphrah that belonged to Joash the Abiezrite. And his son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, "The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor." And Gideon said to him, "O my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this befallen us? And where are all his miracles, which our fathers told about? Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hand of the Midianites." And the Lord looked at him and said, "Go in this your might, and you will save Israel from the hand of Midian. Have I not sent you?" And he said to him, "O my Lord, with what will I save Israel? See, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house." Guys, I love that verse. So God pretty much said to Gideon, "I'm the one sending you, and you're going to win this battle." And Gideon replies by saying, "How am I going to be the one that wins? My family is poor, and not only is my family poor, but I am the least of my family." And I find this very interesting because all through this Bible, God uses the most unlikely people to do great things. And for the ones who are willing to follow him, he gives them great blessings. And I think that is just so awesome, because pretty much what he's saying is, I am God. I can make anything happen. And I'm going to use the smallest, shyest, and quietest of people to get my work done, so that my glory is even greater. And you'll see more of this as an example as we continue on in the story. And the Lord said to him, surely I will be with you, and you will strike Midian as one man. And he said to him, if now I have found favor in your sight, then show me a sign that you are talking with me. Now, please do not leave from here until I come to you and bring forth my offering and set it before you. And he said, I am staying until you come again. And Gideon went in and made ready a kid and unleavened cakes of an ephah of flour. He put the flesh in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot and brought it out to him under the oak and presented it. So guys, I really enjoy this verse, because Gideon is just so zealous for God that he's saying, wait, I need you to really prove to me that you're talking to me, that you really want me. And back in those days, people were bringing sacrifices to the gods to get answers and blessings for their lives. So it was a normal daily thing for most people to understand what sacrifice is all about, that when you give out a sacrifice, God will respond and answer to you. So pretty much that was what Gideon was doing in this verse here. He was saying, well, you wait right there. I'm going to go get a sacrifice and bring it right back to you. And I wonder, it doesn't say so in the Bible, but I'm sure that God probably chuckled on that one. And he said, go ahead, go do what you need to do. So here we read about the answer, or the confirmation that God gives to Gideon. Fire from heaven, and the angel of God said to him, take the flesh and the unleavened cakes and lay them upon this rock and pour out the broth. And he did so. Then the angel of the Lord put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand and touched the flesh and the unleavened cakes. And there rose up fire out of the rock and consumed the flesh and the unleavened cakes. Then the angel of the Lord departed from his sight. And when Gideon perceived that he was an angel of the Lord, Gideon said, alas, my Lord, because I have seen an angel of the Lord face to face. And the Lord said to him, peace be with you. Do not be in awe, or do not be afraid. You will not die. Then Gideon built an altar there for the Lord and called it the Lord Shalom. To this day it is still in Aphrah of the Abizarite. Gideon destroys Baal's altar. And it happened that same night that the Lord said to him, take your father's young bull and the second bull 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the grove that is by it. And build an altar to the Lord your God upon the top of this rock in a very orderly manner, and take the second bull and offer a burnt offering with the wood of the grove which you cut down. Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants and did as the Lord had said to him. And so it was, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city, that he could not do it by day, so he did it by night. And when the men of the city got up early in the morning, there it was, the altar of Baal was thrown down, and the grove that was by it was cut down, and the second bull was offered on the altar that was built. And they said to one another, who has done this thing? And when they inquired and asked, they said, Gideon, the son of Joash, had done this thing. Then the men of the city said to Joash, bring your son out so he can die, because he has thrown down the altar of Baal, and because he has cut down the grove that was by it. And Joash said to all that stood against him, will you plead for Baal? Will you save him? Whoever will plead for him, let him be put to death before the morning. If he is a god, let him plead for him, because someone has cast down his altar. So what's going on here? It's so dramatic, right? Pretty much what God is doing is he's saying, I'm done with these people. I don't want that altar of Baal. And back in those days, people were doing human sacrifices on these Baal altars. He pretty much told Gideon, I want you to go tear down the altar of Baal that your father and your brothers and your relatives built. So guys, I find this similar to what things look like when you go out there and you start to work on something new. As far as I'm concerned, in my direct sales business, when I'm coaching my new consultants, many times new consultants will have friends and family that are supportive of their business. However, more often than not, friends and family tend to not be as supportive as they can be. I believe sometimes people are not supportive of what you're doing because they don't understand it. They're used to what it is that they're used to. And whenever you do something new, it shakes up their paradigm. It shakes up what they're comfortable with. And whenever people are uncomfortable, they lash out. You guys probably have already experienced that in your life. Look back to a time in your life where you wanted to do something new and you were expecting the people closest to you to go, yay, you can totally do it. And that didn't happen. And in fact, they were lashing out back at you instead by saying, well, who told you you could do that? What makes you think you can do that? Well, other people have done that before and it didn't work out for them. What makes you so special? What makes you think that you can do something like that? And what's going on is most of the time people are just afraid of you messing up a good thing for them, or what they think is a good thing for them, or you messing up what they're used to, or you messing up the normality of their life because you're bringing in change. So at this point, Gideon, in the middle of the night, tore down all of these altars that his father built. And in the morning, everybody, of course, found out that it was him, and they were enraged. And they called out Gideon's father, Joash, saying, bring him out so we can kill him. And Joash, of course, doesn't want his son to die, and he responds by saying, plead to Baal. If Baal is a god, then my son Gideon will surely be put to death. And if he's not a god, then nothing will happen to Gideon. So at this point, Gideon gets away from being punished for tearing down Baal's altar because his dad had pleaded with the people for him. Now Gideon's getting ready to gather all of his family members from the surrounding tribes that are related to him to go take out the Midianites and get back their freedom from this oppressive nation. But before he does that, he asks God for another sign. He asks God for a sign and a confirmation, pretty much saying, God, if you could let me know that you really do want me, I'm going to put this fleece out into the ground tonight, and tomorrow morning, if everything around the fleece is dry, but the fleece itself will wring out water, then for sure you want me. And of course, overnight that happens. The next day he wrings out the fleece and he gets a whole bowl's worth of water, and everything around the fleece, the ground all around the fleece, was still dry. And at this point, still, you can imagine he must be nervous, or he's like a lot of people that needs even more confirmation. I know I do from time to time when I'm working towards something new and I'm like, I feel like this is what I need to do. God, is this really what I need to do? Can you give me a sign? And it's so funny because God gave him a sign and he says, God, please don't be upset at me, but I need another sign. Can you give me another sign? And this time he asks for the sign in reverse, something that's such a confirmation that surely it must be of God. Right? So he says, God, please don't be mad at me, but if you could do the reverse for me tonight, I'm going to put out the fleece again, and if you can make all the ground all around the fleece be totally soaking wet, but the fleece itself be dry. And how many times have we done the same thing, that we're working towards something good? We've been called to do something and we're slow to work towards doing it. And even though God says, yes, I tag you, you're the one that needs to do this. You need to go ahead and reach out and do what I say that you should be doing. You say, me? Are you sure you want me? Can you give me a sign? He gives you a sign and you're like, okay, can you give me another sign? So that's pretty much what was going on here. Let's continue the story. The Lord shrinks Gideon's army. Then Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, and all the people who were with him rose early and pitched outside the well of Harod, so that the army of the Midian was on the north side of them by the hill of Moreh in the valley. And the Lord said to Gideon, the people who are with you are too many for me to give the Midianite into their hands, lest Israel take credit for themselves instead of me, saying, mine own hand saved me. Now therefore go proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And 22,000 of the people returned, and 10,000 remained. So pretty much God's saying, you've got way too much helpers now. I don't want you guys to be going into this battle with this many people, because we don't want the people to boast that, oh, we did it and not God. And so guys, take courage that sometimes when you're working towards a passion or a dream of yours and the mountain before you seems so large, I think that's just by divine prescription. I think that's definitely the way God intended it. He wants the mountain standing before you to be so great that when you scale it, you have to say, surely it was God and not by my own accord that I accomplished this greatness. So that's what was going on here. So he came to the camp and he told everybody, if there's anyone amongst you who's scared, go ahead and go home. And it looks like 22,000 people up and went home. And the Lord said to Gideon, the people are too many. Bring them down to the water, and I shall try them for you there, and it will be of whom I say to you, this will go with you, the same will go with you, and of whoever I say to you, this will not go with you, the same will not go. So he brought the people down to the water, and the Lord said to Gideon, whoever who laps the water with his tongue like a dog laps, you will set him by himself. Likewise, everyone who bows down upon his knees to drink, and the number of those who lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, were 300 men. But all of the rest of the people bowed down on their knees to drink, and the Lord said to Gideon, I shall give you by the 300 men who lapped and deliver the Midianites into your hand. Let all the other people go, each man to his place. So the people took provisions and their shofars into their hand, and he sent all the rest of Israel, every man to his tent, and retained those 300 men, and the army of Midian was beneath him in the valley. So God said, you still have too many people. Let's do this so I can find out who you should bring with you. And I find this to be very relevant of what happens when you work towards your goal and you finally found the courage to go ahead and do it. And then you go out there and you win over some people to follow you, right? To say, okay, I'm behind you. Let's do this together. You've got this team going and you're like, yes, let's go. And God goes, oh no. You've got way too many people following you. We're going to shake this up and bring just a few. And I find this interesting in my business in particular. I always teach my consultants and my leaders to be mindful that the people that you start one goal with are not going to be the same people you end the challenge and winning the race with. So you want to keep that in mind. The people who get you there may not be the same people who help you finish the ending line. So I love that. So let's continue. And it happened the same night that the Lord said to him, arise, go down to the Midian camp. So we're getting ready to go into battle now, right? For I have delivered it into your hand. But if you fear to go down, go with Purah, your servant, down to the camp, and you will hear what they are saying. And afterward, your hands will be strengthened to go down to the camp. Then he went down with Purah, his servant, to the outside of the armed men that were in the camp. And I had to stop just for a little bit. After all that Gideon has already been through, at this point, you find him still afraid because God said to him, I want you to go down to the Midianite camp and pretty much survey what's going on so you know what you're getting into. But if you're afraid to go by yourself, go ahead and take your servant with you. And the Bible, it's interesting, there's so many things missing in the Bible, but then God puts in some very interesting details. I know sometimes when I read the Bible, I'm like, well, God, what about this? This seems so big to me. Why didn't you put anything in the Bible that explains that? And yet he gives you these small passages that seems of no importance into the storyline. And in this particular storyline, I picked that up, that Gideon did not want to go to the camp by himself. God said, if you were scared, go ahead and take your servant with you. And even at this point, he was still scared with the Almighty God behind him. I thought that was interesting to share with you. So let's continue. And Midian and Amalek and all the children of the east lay along in the valley like grasshoppers for multitude. And their camels were without number, like the sand by the seashore for multitude. And when Gideon had come, behold, there was a man who told a dream to his buddy and said, behold, I dream a dream, and there was a cake of barley bread tumbled in the camp of Midian, and came to the camp and struck it to fall and overturn it. So the tent lay flat. And his buddy answered and said, this is nothing else except the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel, for God has delivered Midian and the whole army into his hand. And it was so, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and its interpretation, that he worshipped, bowed down, then returned to the camp of Israel and said, arise, for the Lord has delivered the army of Midian into your hand. And he divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put shofars the men's hand, with empty pitchers and torches within the pitchers. And he said to them, watch me and do likewise. And behold, when I come to the outside of the camp, it will be as I do, so will you do. When I blow with the shofar, I and all who are with me, then you also blow the shofar on every side of the whole camp and say, for the Lord and for Gideon. 300 armed with shofars and torches. So Gideon and the 100 men who were with him came to the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch. The middle watch is from midnight to 3 a.m. And they had but newly set the watch, and they blew the shofars and broke the pitches and held the torches in their left hand and the shofars in their right hands to blow. Then they cried, the sword for the Lord and for Gideon. And they stood, each man in his place, around camp, and the whole army ran and cried and fled. And the 300 blew the shofars, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow, even throughout the whole Midian army. And the army fled. So guys, at this point, Gideon goes about taking his 300 men to go against the 135,000 men of the Midianite, and they actually run them out of the camps. They're actually winning. And at this point, Ephraim, which is a distant relative of Gideon's tribe, comes to him and says, why did you do this? Why didn't you bring us in on this action, so to speak? And isn't that interesting, guys? How many of you have had situations before in your life where you're working towards something and no one wants to jump on your bandwagon until you actually succeed? And so this is what's going on right now with Gideon. Isn't that funny? So let's continue. Faint, 300 faint, yet pursuing. And Gideon came to the Jordan. He and the 300 men who were with him crossed, faint, yet pursuing. And so on that day, 300 of Gideon, or the Lord's men, conquered 135,000 men of the Midianites. Guys, I hope you find encouragement in this story, because I am totally excited and inspired. And so I'm going to encourage you, whatever mountain you're facing, whatever your passion and whatever your dream is that you have going on in your life right now, do not be afraid to look foolish, because can you even imagine that sight? How foolish must Gideon have looked to come running down the mountain with 300 men to fight 135,000. And I know sometimes it feels that way when you're working towards something that's big in your heart and you're saying to yourself, surely I can't. And God's saying to you, surely you can. I'm placing a crazy huge obstacle or a crazy huge challenge in front of you because I want you to win. So it glorifies me, so that when you do win and you accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish, you can't say that you did it on your own. You have to say, surely it must be God.